Hello, everybody. My name is Naya, and I'm the Black female engineer. I provide content for new and aspiring software engineers. And today we are going over Leetcode, how to use it, effectively, and how to really prepare for the technical interview with this resource. This is what I used when preparing for technical interviews, and I highly recommend it. So let's get to it. So right away after you create an account, you're taken to this news feed page. I highly recommend creating an account because that's how you'll see your progress. You'll see all the challenges you've done before, all your saved work, and all of that. It's really going to allow you to get the most out of this. But we're going to focus on these three main pages: Explore, Problems, and Mock. So starting off with Explore, you're kind of taken to this choose your own adventure type page where you can pick to practice based on a certain coding challenge or based on a certain topic or based on interviews, a company you're interviewing for. And so that first banner is really a mix of all of those. But scrolling down a little bit, this is where we see that section for interviews. So we have Google, Facebook, Amazon, Apple. And you see here, it's all for premium members. And so you'll need to pay for Leetcode to access these things. And so if you are interviewing for places like Microsoft, like Facebook, and you're new to development or you're new to interviewing, then I can see the benefit of going this route and getting that premium membership. But if you're not, then I kind of truly think you can get away with not going these routes unless you're specifically interviewing for Facebook, etc. And I say that because I didn't have a premium membership, but I still had access to all of these amazing resources. And so moving on to the Learn section, you can choose coding challenges, you can choose your path based on the specific subject. And so if you want to learn about linked lists or binary trees or recursion, this is where you can do that, really focusing your learning on the specific subject. Or maybe in general, you just don't know much about binary trees or you don't know much about the recursion. This is a great way to learn that and test your skills there. This is also great if you know a company is going to test recursion, going to test arrays, going to test linked lists. And so that is another way you can go about studying. And then finally, we have the challenge section. And this is great if you have trouble staying consistent and you need that extra push to be consistent, to be on it. And so with the challenge, you have, January Leetcode challenge, December, etc., so that you can make sure that you're following along with this material and staying on top of it because consistency really is key here. So now going up to really where I lived for a couple of months, and that's the problems section. So the problems section is real exactly what that is, just a bunch of problems, each of them one single problem. And if you see here, they're really sectioned out by acceptance, difficulty, and so you can choose a problem based on those things. So the acceptance kind of indirectly tells you the complexity of the problem. It says of all the people who submitted problems, who submitted solutions, only 46.7 were accepted by Leetcode, which means there's a whole 53% that weren't accepted. So it can be a good gauge for complexity. And so I typically always sorted by difficulty and then clicked on acceptance so that it was from highest to lowest because it could be easy, but then it can still be complicated. And so this is how I would go through the problems. And if you see, there's loads and loads of problems to go through here, which is why I say you don't really need the premium subscription. And so this first one has a 95.6% acceptance rate, which can really tell you that is probably the easiest problem you'll find. And this one's locked because you need to be a premium member. And so all the ones you see that have that lock symbol, you need to be a premium member. But look at all the ones that don't have that locked symbol. You truly don't need that subscription to get the most out of your experience. So let's start with this problem: number of good pairs. And so this is, our interface. This is how each problem will be presented to us with the name of the problem, along with the description, and then the examples. So here we say, given an array of integers, nums, a pair ij is called good if nums I equals nums j and I is less than j. Return the number of good pairs. And so then if we go down, we see examples and constraints. And I really love this interface because from my experience, this is kind of always how coding challenges were presented to me. They had this entire layout of the description and then examples and then a space to input your solution. And so it was great practice in terms of actually getting that real world experience so that I wouldn't be caught off guard when it was time to interview. And even when it was a one-on-one interview, the person was actually there still would be this interface provided so that everything was clear and all of that. So this is great. And then here you can input your solutions or test out solutions and all of that. Now, first thing you'll want to do here is check the coding language. And so for me, this is total gibberish. I really cannot read this. And so I'm going to change it to JavaScript. That's typically the coding language I use. Now, keep in mind, make sure you're paying attention to the type of interview you have received. If you're interviewing for a front end role, it's probably not the best idea to be coding out in C++ because front end is JavaScript. And so keep that in mind when you're practicing. If you're interviewing for both back and front end roles, then you should be switching around and making sure you can answer the questions in all the different types of languages. And typically you are given the option to choose your language, but it also says a lot, the language you choose. So we're not actually going to solve this. We're going to go into discuss, which I also lived here because it's great for seeing how other people solved this problem. If you're stuck, if you're not sure what to do, or even if you solved it but you're looking at ways it could have been better, this is a great thing to do. And so if you pick the language you're working in, me it's JavaScript, look at how many solutions are posted up by users, and there's 7 whole pages and there's just so much. And so let's start off by picking one to look at. So let's see here. Let's do just the first one. So we see the solution that this person put up. We see that, okay, there's a let, there's a for loop, then another for loop, and then he returns count. So this is a great way to kind of see how other people interpreted the problem, see if you understand the solution that they provided. And if you're stuck, it's a great way to get unstuck because you see, oh, okay, I understand for loops and they did this, then they went for the num's length, then they incremented count by 1 if I equal j. And it's just a great way to kind of just go through that solution, to kind of go through that problem solving, seeing, oh, okay, I get it now, so let me wipe the solution out, let me exit out of this and try it myself without looking at this, and can I make it make sense for me? Now if we go to other solutions, okay, so we see here, this is a lot. This is very different from the first one. Now, this is where you can get into trouble. Don't try to find the most fancy solution, find the thing that looks most impressive. Let's say you don't know what a for each is, you don't know what dot set does, etc. That can get you into trouble if you're just copying the solution and pasting. That's not going to help you during the interview. What you could do is use your confusion to say, okay, let me Google what for each is, let me Google what dot set is, and learn how this solution came together. But yeah, going through the different solutions, going through the more complicated ones, the simpler ones, etc., it's a great way for you to learn from the people around you, because on the job, that's what you should be doing. You should strive to be learning from people, strive to be doing better because you see someone else's process, somebody else's code. But again, don't be copy and pasting this and calling it good without knowing any which way what's going on. And so let's exit out of this and try to find, yeah, a solution that works for us. So if we go back to discuss, my bad, there we go, back. And let's try to select that first problem again. I think it's a great beginner-friendly solution. Let's copy this and paste. I definitely don't recommend copying and pasting, even if you find a solution that you resonate with. I recommend typing it out because that's the best way you'll learn. But for the sake of this tutorial, we'll copy and paste it. And then we'll go down here and select run code, which puts the solution through one of Leetcode's tests. And if we click submit, it'll go through all of their tests and see if it passes all of them. And it does. And we see here, it gives us information as to the runtime and memory usage. So runtime, it says it was 5% faster than other submissions, which is not the best. That is not good. But the memory usage is less than 91%. Now, focusing on that runtime, the 5.07%, it's very important to see why that is and to see ways to make it better. And then for memory usage, 91.08%, that's pretty good. So we can focus our efforts into that runtime. And in interviews, that's really where our focus will be, trying to see how to make good quality code that runs quickly, because that's important for our users or our hypothetical users if we get the job. So if we look here at the solution, we can see this embedded for loop here. Now that is a huge no-no. That is a huge no-no because it produces, if you've heard of time space complexity, this produces a time complexity of O of n squared because of this embedded for loop. And that's something you would be expected to talk about in an interview. In interviews, I've never really been expected to talk about space complexity, but time complexity, oh, you must much at least touch on. And so if you have a solution that's O of n squared, it's very important to find ways to make it less than that. And that's another reason why this discussion board can be so useful, finding solutions that are faster than this 5.07% or this O of n squared solution. And so, but keep in mind, if this is your very first problem, honestly, this is great. The fact that you got to a solution is fantastic. And so the time space complexity piece can be something you focus on later. Right now, your focus can be really just solving problems and figuring out ways to solve it and all of that, and then getting to that added layer later on. And so going back to the problems page, and if we reorganize this difficulty of easy, and if we scroll down, we can now see a check mark for that problem saying, good job, we solved it, one of 1,835 problems. Ooh, we're making our way downtown, y'all. But yes, there's just so many problems we can go through. And so that's why I say, yeah, if you are just consistent and you're going through, you'll be good. You don't need that premium membership. But then going to mock, this provides mock interview questions from quote unquote real companies. And this can be great if you are interviewing for a specific top tier company like Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft. But again, you will need that premium subscription. And so, yeah, for me, it's only that premium subscription is only worth it if that is your situation, if that is the circumstances in which you are in. But then you do have a few random ones here. But yeah, I typically just live in the problem section, y'all. Like, I truly just was very consistent, made goals of let's do 3 a day or let's do 10 a week. The number you put as to how many you want to solve really just depends on your goals, your timeline, when you'll get your interviews, when you're looking to start interviewing. And so really see what that timeline looks like and sit down and go through that. But yeah, that's really it, y'all. Let's log out. Yeah, I created a separate account for this to really show a beginner experience is like. But there we go. There we go, everybody. A very detailed look into how to best use Leetcode. I hope this was helpful. If it was, please leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.